January 10th, 2025. Today's reading was Genesis 28:6 through Genesis 30:24. Just those sections of chapters. And we have the story of Esau and Jacob continuing on. We have Esau being jealous of Jacob and marrying another relative, but instead of going the way that Jacob was sent, he went his own way again and went to the family of Ishmael, the family of hostile. They're very hostile family towards others. So kind of fitting for Esau. That's kind of his style, right? That's what we see him more like. So that's what we see there. Then we get Jacob's dream, and we get a vision, a little glimpse of what heaven kind of looks like and how that works with the ladder, angels of God going up and down a stairway. That's neat. And the Lord standing at the top of it, and he tells Jacob, "I am the Lord, and the ground you are lying on belongs to you, and I'm giving it to you." And then he says, "I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I've promised you." Until, what does that mean? Is the Lord going to leave him after he gives him? I don't know, but that's a word that's there for a reason. Until. What else? He called the place Bethel. There was something I didn't write and make note of, but Jacob promised is to give God a tenth of everything that he gives him. There we see that again, that tenth. That's the tithe, right? And it's a willing thing. It's not he wasn't made to do that. It was Jacob said, "Hey, I'm going to give this to you. You're going to bless me. I'm going to give it back to you. I'm going to give you a tenth. I'm going to dedicate a tenth to God." And a lot of that will be with sacrifices and things like that. And then we have Jacob meeting Rachel, and then Laban kind of pulling a little switcheroo on Jacob, kind of like Jacob did with Esau. And then again, this section kind of seems more like a soap opera than the Bible, but all the he said and loved and this and that and sleeping with different. Man, he was busy. He was a busy person. And then the drama between Leah and Rachel, and okay, well, have my concubine, and then then we have the whole deal with, well, I want mandrakes. Well, you can't have mandrakes. Well, I'll give you Jacob tonight if you have mandrakes. What is this? What is going on here? But God's in that. God is with that. And again, we're supposed to wrestle with this. I keep going back to that. We're supposed to think on this, but we go through things, and our life does not look perfect and just all sewn together in a pretty knot. Things happen, and we do things, and we react to things probably how we shouldn't. Our life ends up being a lot like a soap opera, right? And God still works through that. His promise is yes and amen, and it's true, and he knows our nature and our ways, and he blesses through that, regardless of what goes on and regardless how we happen. And we see through this. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. We know that Jacob becomes Israel. He renames him Israel, and we'll see that. But he's got to go through all this to get there. He's got to go through that trickery. He's got to go through that work with Laban. He's got to go through these things that build his character into what it's supposed to be. It's not something God says, whoop, here's your character, you're going to be good and great. Just like Abraham, it took 100 years before he fulfilled that promise. And the same for us. We must be patient with God to work through him, let him work through us and be the person that we're called to be. Things happen to us, and they guide us and they direct us. We get that in James about count it all joy when we face various trials because it produces character and so on and so forth. It takes a lot. We look at that Old Testament, we look at these stories and go, 100 years. We look at Moses, 40 years in the desert before he's an old man when he starts leading the Israelites out of there. We see that theme that we have to go through things, and we're going to get it wrong. We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to have wrongs done to us. But God is in that, and God is with us in that. And I think that's a big part of what we see through this section right here, is that God is in this. Even through all the soap operas of life that we go through, God is in it. With our brothers, I saw being jealous and marrying other people, and Jacob and Rachel and Leah and the servants. But God is in that. God uses all that. That's where that Romans 8:28, that's one of my favorite verses, because God works together for the good of all those that believe and are called to his good service and serving him, love him. So that's kind of how that picture works together and how it shows it. We don't always get it right, and we're not gonna, and we're going to grow through that. Love it.